I am Nicole. I was talking with my best friend Candace when this happened.
Yo!
Who? I've come to hang out. That's how Abby, my sister-in-law, entered the living room. Surprised, I asked Abby. Abby? How did you get in? I used the spare key. Why? Abby didn't seem to feel guilty at all. So, I asked her in an angry tone, why do you have the spare key? Why? Because I made it. Can't you understand something so simple? Abby laughed out loud. Candace and I were dumbfounded. It's fine to come over to play, but entering the house without permission is unacceptable. Moreover, making a spare key without permission is outrageous. Listen, Abby. Think about it logically. I tried to reason with Abby. However, Abby suddenly got upset and said, "What? You're going to preach to me?" "No, not preaching." "What? So, a scolding?" "Either way, spare me. It's annoying." It seemed talking was useless. I sighed deeply. Then, as if she remembered something, Abby said, "Oh right. I almost forgot." "What? What's the sudden rush?" "Give me some pocket money." "What? Why?" "I'm going on a trip with friends tomorrow." "So?"
Yeah.
Abby was a freelancer after graduating high school. She works at a bar, so going on a trip with friends is fine. But begging for pocket money is a different issue. If she's working, she should pay for it herself. When I said that, Abby stamped her feet and said, "The money from my job isn't enough. That's why I came to get pocket money from my brother." "Sorry, but Ben is on a business trip. By the way, Ben is my husband's name." "So, Abby is Ben's real sister." Abby puffed her cheeks and said, "Then, Nicole, you pay instead." "What? Why?" "Because, in place of my brother." "It's okay to ask, right? You're an adult. Take care of it yourself." I had no intention of pampering Abby, who is an adult. Still, Abby tried every trick in the book to beg for pocket money from me. But, I firmly said no to all. Finally, Abby seemed to give up and said, "Fine. I'm going home. That would be helpful." "Shut up. I'll make you regret this." Abby left those parting words and exited the living room. Soon after, I heard the front door close with a bang. Hearing that, I felt relieved. "Sorry, Candace. Did I cause a commotion?" "No, it's okay. But it seems harder than I heard."
Yeah.
Well, actually, I had been discussing Abby with Candace. The reason goes back a bit. I've always liked cars and joined a car enthusiast club in college. But all they did was drink and dance at nightclubs. Even when we went for drives, it was just like dating purpose. The club was far from what I had in mind, so I quit soon after. I searched online for real car enthusiasts. That's when I found a certain car enthusiast club. It had members interested in everything from the latest luxury cars to classic cars. Moreover, each member shared photos and videos of their cars online. All of them clearly loved cars. This is what I was looking for. My intuition screamed. So, I contacted them immediately and joined the club. There, I met Ben, who was already working. Ben had a shiny foreign car, a step ahead into the corporate world. I really wanted to drive one, so I saved up and bought it. That's how Ben talked about it. I was drawn to his passionate way of speaking and, a few years later, we got married. We both shared a hobby in cars and the desire to spend money on them. That's why we thought we could get along well. However, soon after we got married, I noticed a problem. It was Abby, my sister-in-law. Initially, Abby approached me with a flattering attitude. Can I come over for dinner today? Sure, but what's up? I'm a bit short on cash before payday from my part-time job. That's how Abby cutely put it. At that time, I didn't know Abby's true nature. So, thinking of supporting Abby, who was working hard at her job, I said, "Sure, come over for dinner.
Yay!
Then, I'll come by in the evening." But inviting Abby over for dinner turned out to be a mistake. The following month, Abby contacted me again. Can I come over this month too? Sure, but if you can't make ends meet with your part-time job, maybe you should find full-time employment. I know. Abby responded somewhat lightly. At this moment, I thought, perhaps the lack of money was a lie? That's how I felt. But it was hard to ask since Abby was my sister-in-law. So, I talked to my husband about it, and he spoke to Abby. Then, pretending to cry, Abby said, "It's not a lie." Doesn't brother believe me? I guess you're right. It was wrong of me to doubt. You're mean, brother. Sorry. It's just that Nicole was so suspicious. Geez. Nicole is terrible. Abby pretended to be angry. At that moment, I clearly understood. This girl is the type that other women dislike. However, she seems to be liked by many men. I was troubled. With a husband so lenient towards his sister, there was no way he would dislike her. If anything, if I complained, it would likely lead to him scolding me instead. This is a formidable opponent. Moreover, the opponent is my sister-in-law. It's not a relationship where you can easily cut ties or distance yourself. Anyway, I need to be cautious. From that day on, I became wary of Abby. But because my husband was lenient with her, Abby became increasingly bold. Her polite tone turned into a casual one, and she started to enter our house without hesitation. Initially, she came over once a month, but it soon turned into twice a month. And now she comes 2 or 3 times a week. Moreover, every time she visits, she begs my husband for pocket money. Naturally, my husband, grinning foolishly, gives in and hands over the money. Unable to stay silent any longer, I spoke to my husband when Abby was not around. Please, don't spoil Abby. She's an adult. What's the matter? Are you jealous? That's not it. Spoiling her means she'll always depend on us, right? So what? What's wrong with a sister depending on her brother? That's not the point. It's about being able to do things on her own. That's what we're talking about. That's nonsense. My husband laughed, holding his stomach. I got frustrated. She's coming over to eat, isn't she? That means she can't manage her life, right? Well, that's... Anyway, there's a difference between caring and spoiling. If she can't live on her own, it'll be trouble for Abby. After saying that, my husband turned away with a pout, like a sulking child. But if this could reduce Abby's visits, then it was worth scolding my husband. That's what I thought, but there was no change in Abby's attitude or behavior. Needless to say, I saw my husband trying to gently advise Abby. However, it seemed to have no effect on her. Instead, Abby's behavior became even more presumptuous. Especially troubling were her daytime visits. I quit my job when we got married. But doing nothing was boring, and I wanted to earn at least my own pocket money if possible. So, I started working from home writing columns. It didn't pay as much as my office job, but I was making enough for some pocket money. I was enjoying my work. However, being at home during the day worked out well for Abby. She would come to my house in her free time, shouting at the entrance.
Yo!
Who? I've come to play, open up. Obviously, I couldn't just ignore her because it would disturb the neighbors. When I went out to her, Abby, with a grin, would say, "I've come to play. Let me in for a bit." Impossible. I'm working right now. Working? Working from home is like a part-time job, right? Just slack off a bit. I was dumbfounded by what she said. But it seemed Abby was serious. Oblivious to my astonishment, she persisted. "Come on, let me in. I'm thirsty, give me some juice or something." All right, just this once." And like that, she'd barge into my house. She'd rummage through the fridge and even disrupt my work. When I thought she had finally left, I'd noticed some of my things were missing. Again. I thought, and called Abby. "Hey, Abby? Some things are missing from the house." "Huh? House stuff? I don't know anything about that." She's terrible at lying. But she thinks she's gotten away with it, which almost makes me laugh. I couldn't help but respond with a chuckle. "I've heard you telling Ben you've sold them." "Huh? What? What are you talking about?" "About the time when Ben's games went missing. That was a few weeks ago. After Abby left, I felt something was off when I returned to the room. For some reason, my husband's game console was out of place. My husband, a car enthusiast, also loves car games. He takes great care of his gaming console and always puts it away after use. That's why I felt something was wrong. When I checked the console, I noticed that a game my husband cherished was missing. It was even a special edition that he bought for the initial release bonuses. I immediately suspected Abby might have taken it. But without any proof, I couldn't confront her. Moreover, if I accused Abby, my husband might get angry with me. Thinking this, I didn't say anything to Abby and just told my husband about it. He said he would ask Abby himself. Later, pretending I didn't know anything, when my husband asked Abby, she said, "Oh, I sold that." Why? That was something I really cared about. Sorry, brother. I really needed the money. Why did you need money? I wasn't feeling well last month, so I couldn't go to my part-time job much. That's why I was short on money and struggling. Abby looked downcast. Of course, I immediately knew it was all an act. But my husband seemed to believe her. He patted her head, saying, "Tell me next time. I'll help you out." Okay, brother. It felt like watching a farce. Still, I had promised my husband I wouldn't interfere, so I just confronted Abby with it. Then, Abby, flustered, said, "That and this are different. There's no proof I stole anything." "I didn't say you stole it, Abby. But I just wondered if you knew anything about it since something similar happened before." She was at a loss for words. But now, the culprit was clear. Fortunately, nothing expensive was taken. And since something similar had happened before, I could also blame myself for being careless. So, I decided not to pursue it any further. I told Abby, taking things from someone's house without permission is a crime. If you do it again, I won't let it slide. Humph. I don't know anything about it. Pretend all you want, but if something goes missing again, I'll report it to the police. Report? You must be joking. I'm serious. If you don't want to get caught, never do it again. I was just putting in a stern word. But the threat of reporting to the police must have some effect, I thought. However, that effect didn't last long. A few weeks later, Abby was back at our house, boldly asking my husband for pocket money. And with a smug look, as if to say, "This should be fine, right?" she glanced at me. I was truly at a loss for words at her audacity. So, troubled, I consulted Candace. That's why Candace, who was off today, came over to my house. With a sigh, I asked Candace, So, what do you think of Abby after seeing her in action? Well, it didn't seem like she has a habit of stealing or anything like that. Then what? I think she's just being spoiled. She might change if she sees a bit more of reality. And how do we make that happen? It's tough. You'll have to talk it over with your husband first. I thought so.
Yeah.
We didn't come to a conclusion, but it was a good break from stress. After that, Candace and I chatted about trivial things. Hours passed, and Candace quietly stood up. I should be heading back now. What? Already? I need to get back and start preparing dinner.
Aww.
Just a little longer, please? Sorry. My husband is waiting at home. What? Showing off? My husband is away on a business trip. All right, no complaints. Candace quickly gathered her things. That's when my phone rang. It was Abby. Wondering what she wanted, I answered the call. Hello? Nicole speaking. Abby. What's up? I just wanted to tell you something. What? It was $50,000, but I can have it, right? What? $50,000? Confused, I tilted my head. Abby, with a snort, said, "Idiot. It's about the car." The car? I asked back, and Abby proudly claimed, "I sold your car. On a flea market app." What? You sold the car? It sold in just a few minutes. For $50,000. I couldn't understand what she was talking about. But regardless, Abby continued. I'm about to hand it over, so I can have all of the $50,000, right? Wait. What car are you talking about? The one parked in the apartment's parking lot. That really expensive Lex something car. Indeed, our car is a foreign luxury model. My husband sold his previous car for our wedding fund. After saving little by little post-marriage, we finally got that luxury car. It's comfortable, and I'm glad we bought it. But there was one problem with what Abby was saying. Because my husband took our car for his business trip. Meaning, it couldn't possibly be parked there. Yet, Abby claimed it was parked there. If that were true, it would be a major issue. And here's why. I overheard a bit, but the car in Nicole's parking spot, isn't that mine? Candace said with a tense face. I nodded silently. Normally, our car would be there. Because my husband commutes by train. He says he gets stuck in traffic in the mornings. Abby knew this, so she must have assumed the car in the parking spot was ours. However, because the business trip was to the neighboring county this time, my husband was instructed to go by car. My husband, who loves driving, was thrilled. He offered to drive, meaning he and a colleague would use his car for the trip. That left our apartment's parking spot empty. I suggested to Candace, come over in your car. Coincidentally, Candace arrived in the same model as ours, which we bonded over just a few hours ago. Unbeknownst to Abby, she assumed any car of the same model parked there was ours. And unfortunately, there's a key box by our front door. Candace had left the car keys in there. That series of coincidences allowed Abby to take Candace's car. Understanding the gravity of the situation, I panicked. If Abby's words were true, it meant she had mistakenly sold Candace's car. A case that could easily be considered theft. I whispered to Candace, asking what we should do. Candace? What do we do? Well, I'm a police officer. There's only one thing to do. As she said this, Candace was already holding her smartphone with a serious look. Thinking it was all over, I relayed this to Abby. You know, Abby? What? You've kept me waiting too long. I've got something to tell you. What? I don't need anything from you, just tell me if I can have the money. Well, that car isn't mine. Huh? I know that. Abby surprisingly confessed, knowing it wasn't my property, which could itself be a crime. As I puzzled over her anger, Abby shouted, "It's your brother's, I know that." I felt a bit relieved but knew this was no time for relief. It's not that. I tried to explain the situation to Abby, but she impatiently said, "Just tell your brother that I sold the car. And that I'm taking the money, okay? Can you wait a bit?" Why? Because that car belongs to someone else. Huh? Belongs to who? Remember who visited today? My friend Candace, who was there. That's a lie. I can see right through you. Abby laughed it off. I turned to Candace, who had already put down her phone. Looking straight at me, she said, "Sorry, Nicole. I've finished making arrangements." Huh? It's easy to trace things like a flea market app. I got the address, and detectives are on their way. I was at a loss for words. Taking a deep breath, I then informed Abby. "Sorry, Abby." "For what?" "Detectives are on their way to you." Huh? Detectives? Is that your boyfriend? It's not a person's name. They're police officers, police officers. Police officers? Did you report me? It wasn't me. You traitor. Well, I'm family, so. Thinking she wouldn't get caught was naive. Theft between family members is one thing, but this was stealing someone else's car. When Candace and I arrived at Abby's, she was already slumped inside a police car. Candace talked to the detectives at the scene, allowing me to speak to Abby. "Abby? Are you okay?" "Well, obviously not." Startled by my voice, Abby looked up and immediately blamed me. "It's all your fault. Your fault I'm in this mess." "No, it's not. You're to blame, right?" "No. It's you. You tricked me." She showed no remorse. I sighed exaggeratedly and glared at her. Abby cowered, and I told her, "Enough. I told you taking people's stuff is a crime. But you're an adult. Take responsibility for your actions. But no excuses. Reflect on your actions in jail." "I'm sorry." Abby broke down crying. That night, when my husband heard of Abby's arrest and came home, he looked like he was about to cry, muttering regrets about not being stricter with her. Feeling sorry for him, I comforted my husband, but his remorse seemed endless. Later, my husband and I apologized to Candace. Candace told me, "Let this be a chance for Abby to grow up. Make sure she learns her lesson." "I understand. I promise." Thus, a settlement was reached for the theft, and Abby received a suspended sentence. Abby was taken in by her in-laws and is now working under their supervision, even offering to pay the settlement money herself. Her arrest seemed to have a significant impact, as she's been working more diligently than before, giving me some peace of mind. As for me, my life hasn't changed much. My relationship with Candace remains the same, and I'm still close with my husband. However, there's been a slight change. After this incident, my husband has become very compliant, listening to everything I say and even helping around the house. I hope this lasts, that's what I'm thinking about now.